What if future Trunks returned to the main timeline during the Majin Buu Saga? In this video, you will find out my thoughts on how future Trunks would have affected the Majin Buu Terror, how he would interact with other characters like his father Vegeta, and how it would have affected his own timeline when he returned. This is my version of events continuing with the Z Trunks we grew to love. Therefore, there will be certain character changes in places, but still using the Dragon Ball Super timeline as well when needed, making this what if very interesting. Future Trunks could have indeed made a huge difference in the Buu Saga, and it would play in the favour of the forces of good at some points. But when he arrives is also extremely important for this to happen. You see, when 7 years passed in the main timeline, 7 years also passed in the future timeline. Trunks returned to age 785 and killed the androids. In age 788 he killed Cell. But then 7 years after that, age 795, Goku Black arrives. It is stated that a couple of years before age 795, Trunks fought Babidi and Dabura. So we can go with age 793, making that 8 years after Trunks killed the androids, which as we know is 1 year too far after the Majin Buu Saga in the main timeline. Therefore, the Trunks that will return back to the past will have to be 1 year before the events of future Babidi and future Dabura, to make it precisely 7 years after the Cell games. And this means Trunks will not have the training from the Supreme Kai and not have achieved Super Saiyan 2. So how strong will future Trunks be when he goes back to the past once again? Let us dive into this story setting even further, and be sure to subscribe for many more exciting Dragon Ball What Ifs. As we all know, Vegeta did achieve Super Saiyan 2 in the 7-year time skip, so to think Trunks did not achieve it during the 7 years after Cell leads us to believe Trunks did not train as hard as Vegeta, seeing as they had roughly the same power at the end of the Cell games. So in this story, Trunks didn't train as intensely as Vegeta in the 7 years, but maintained and grew a little, just not to the levels of Super Saiyan 2 Gohan in the Cell games. So I will be placing Trunks' Super Saiyan 1 form at the same level as Goku's Super Saiyan form in the Cell games. So he has grown, but is not going to be the levels of Buu Saga Super Saiyan Goku. This I feel makes the most sense. So when will we have Trunks return? At what point? To make the most out of future Trunks in the Buu Saga, it would make the most sense for him to return right at the beginning, when Gohan is in high school, the Great Saiyaman Saga. It's a time of peace where we can slot straight in and interact with everyone once again. Future Trunks would return and go straight to Capsule Corporation, seeing his mother and sharing their stories, and how both timelines were now at peace. He would be rocking a beard and long ponytail, giving him a more mature look than what he portrayed in the Cell games, appearing more of a leader who saved and guided his future timeline to peace and recovery. Future Trunks would soon meet Kid Trunks, and although the interaction would be strange at first, they would start to get on very well for obvious reasons. The most interesting interaction will be with his father Vegeta. Vegeta, although somewhat more earthly now, would be very defensive about the reason why Trunks has traveled through time, telling him to return right away or it will interfere with history. Vegeta had his son already, and although not fully caring towards him just yet, that would be more than enough for the Saiyan Prince at this point in his life in terms of having the responsibility of being a father. But nonetheless, future Trunks would understand that and smile, telling Bulma that he can see a great change in his father since the last time, and still remembers Vegeta standing up for him after Cell had killed him. Trunks would travel the globe and see all of his friends, being welcomed by all of them, especially Gohan. This would be an emotional moment for Trunks because it had been a long time since he saw Gohan this big, almost like a man. It reminded him of his master, future Gohan, from his timeline. But in no time, the events of Dragon Ball Z would continue and the fighters would be made fully aware of the upcoming Budokai Tenkaichi as well as Goku's return for the day. This would all be held in 1 month's time. As Trunks was enjoying a vacation in this timeline, and had stayed for a number of days, he was getting ready to return to his timeline, but then it was Vegeta who pushed Trunks to actually stay. Due to Vegeta hearing about Kakarot returning, the prince had a sudden change of heart, a fire burning within once again not felt for 7 years. He invites Trunks to fight in the tournament to see what he's made of, and to see if he's kept up his training. Not wanting to disappoint his father, Trunks felt like he must stay to prove his worth, as the last time they were together he barely gained Vegeta's respect then. Kid Trunks also became more excited for Trunks to stay, encouraging him to train with him and Vegeta. It's at this point Kid Trunks informs Vegeta that Goten is also competing, So knowing Kakarot is returning, Vegeta wants no second place when it comes to his sons. So something else triggers in his mind. If Kid Trunks will fight Goten, he wants future Trunks to defeat the other son of Kakarot, Gohan. Knowing full well he slacked off over these 7 years in times of peace, Vegeta wanted future Trunks to restore the pride of his family and eliminate Gohan in the tournament. Even though it was a gamble who would be drawn against who, they could still fight afterwards if needed. Future Trunks looks stunned, not confident that he is able to defeat the same Gohan that defeated Cell. If only he knew what happened to him. Vegeta takes the boys into the gravity room and tells future Trunks to power up to his maximum strength. This would be a level of strength that Goku had in the Cell games. Vegeta spits to the ground. Absolutely disappointed and completely angered, that's all the power Trunks was able to build up in the last 7 years. Vegeta powers up and reveals Super Saiyan 2, only his level was just a smidge higher than Gohan's was in the Cell games. He was currently without Babidi's magic, unlocking more of his power. Future Trunks was in shock, and Vegeta tells him that he has no chance of defeating Gohan if he tapped into Super Saiyan 2. But there is still a chance. If Gohan doesn't use that power, maybe Trunks' Super Saiyan 1 is stronger than Gohan's now. Vegeta didn't want to take any chances. His pride depended on Trunks' victory, to claim a success after a disgraceful run in the Cell Saga. Vegeta would train both Trunks, harshly and intensely for 1 month, but still told them not to expect to win the whole tournament because that victory belonged to him. Vegeta maintained his arrogance and pride. This training regime would allow the hybrid potential of Trunks to grow at an accelerated rate, as he is training with a much more smarter and stronger Vegeta than all those years ago. A Vegeta who is Super Saiyan 2, and one who has undergone many years of extensive training. That would elevate future Trunks' potential much faster than it grew in the Room of Spirit and Time years ago, where Trunks really didn't have much smart knowledge of how to train compared to the likes of Goku training Gohan. So in this story, in just 1 month of training intensely with a more efficient, motivated Vegeta, future Trunks' Super Saiyan 1 power would be just as high as Vegeta's due to the hybrid boost. But he would not be able to transform into Super Saiyan 2 just yet due to the lack of trigger. But this doesn't mean he couldn't do it at some point. His raw base power would be above Gohan at this point as well in the story. Gohan would train with Goten as normal, and would get distracted by Videl, and not nearly get the amount of boost that future Trunks would have gained. So the day of the Budokai Tenkaichi would arrive, and the events would play out as normal for the most part. Future Trunks would not enter under his name due to Kid Trunks already competed previously in the junior divisions. He would use the name Mirai to not cause any confusion, and would replace Jewel in the bracket against Yamu in the last fight of the first round. The events of the tournament would continue as normal, with Gohan revealing his slacked off Super Saiyan 2 power against Kibito. Supreme Kai would also reveal his plan to the Z Fighters, as they witnessed Babidi's henchmen absorbing Gohan's ki. Future Trunks would also listen to the Supreme Kai and not intervene. Spopovich and Yamu would rush off to Babidi's spaceship, resulting in everyone else following, including Future Trunks. This scenario completely confused him as it never happened in his timeline. Where the Supreme Kai mentioned it may have had something to do with Babidi and Dabura not detecting that much power on Earth to revive Buu, as many fighters fell to the androids and the androids couldn't be sensed. Either way, they all reached the rocky areas near Babidi's spaceship. The events at Babidi's spaceship involves many twists and turns, but just what will unfold when Dabura detects the presence of the Z Fighters? Don't you dare miss the next part of this exciting Dragon Ball What If. The Z Fighters witnessed Babidi use his magic and kill Spopovich and Yamu. Dabura would detect the Z Fighters on the mountain place. He would start his assault against them. With Kibito dying in the first hit, Piccolo and Krillin would get turned to stone. Dabura would eventually retreat. Future Trunks wouldn't have made a significant difference there to that surprise attack. However, upon entering the ship, there would now be 4 Saiyans instead of 3. All except Trunks would engage in a rock paper scissors who fights who. Trunks would retain his serious nature of dealing with threats, not wanting to mess around or play games, and insisted they just trash everyone as a team. This is where the Supreme Kai now begins to lean more towards Trunks than originally Gohan, and find him being the one to be the most helpful. Gohan would play along as he felt safe and that they had a good chance of winning, plus his father was home so he was genuinely happy, and caved into the Saiyan pressure of fighting. It's obvious here, Trunks is the only one with his head screwed on right. But nevertheless, Pui would die against Vegeta, Goku would kill Yakon, and Dabura would square off against Gohan. In this story, Gohan would use his power of Super Saiyan 1, being unable to use the same power he had against Cell for combat purposes due to being out of shape. He only showboated it against Kibito previously. This is where a huge turn of events would take place. Vegeta would become annoyed at the situation with Gohan slacking off, telling Goku that even Trunks has managed to get back into shape, so there's no excuse Gohan couldn't. He calls him a mockery to the Saiyan race, and this is where Dabura detects evil in Vegeta's heart. Dabura intends to postpone the fight, bragging he has recruited a new fighter, which we know to be Vegeta. Everyone is teleported back to the ship at the request of Dabura. However, in this instant, before Dabura has any time to retreat, Trunks has seen enough and transformed into a Super Saiyan, dashing towards the Demon King and hitting him to the ground before he could escape. The rest are shocked, except Vegeta, who is proud to see his son take out the trash, which Gohan failed to do. Dabura is fazed by the unexpected hit, and goes for a stone spit, only for Trunks to know full well and avoid it, getting into close combat and then battering Dabura. At this point, Trunks' Super Saiyan 1 is stronger than Gohan's Super Saiyan 1, which meant Dabura was at a disadvantage. Dabura would draw up on his sword, only for Trunks to draw his, and the two would engage in a huge mid-air sword battle. But it was Trunks' sword and power that cut through and destroyed Dabura's. He would go in for the kill, impale Dabura through the chest, no messing around. Dabura would instinctively dash away in pain, with the sword still in his chest, but Trunks chased him down, and continued a violent beatdown on Dabura. It was over. He smashed him to the floor and collects his sword. It is at this point, as Dabura is crawling away, on the brink of death, Trunks begins approaching. Dabura was indeed a tough bastard, but this was it. He would telepathically speak to Babidi, informing him to cast the spell on Vegeta immediately as he will serve him next, and the message is delivered. But it was too late for Dabura. Without a second thought, Trunks uses a point-blank explosive wave and kills Dabura, knowing full well Krillin and Piccolo would be freed from the stone spit. And it's at this point the Supreme Kai truly sees Trunks as the chosen one who will aid to defeat Majin Buu, by showing a no mess around attitude as well as a stronger level of power than Gohan. Their bond would start to grow here, rather than with Gohan. Plus, Trunks just hated war. He was not in the frame of mind for playing games or round robin with deadly foes. He wanted to help as he could, then return to his own timeline. However, it's at this point Babidi uses Dabura's last minute information and begins to possess Vegeta and succeeds. Babidi in anger teleports them to the World Tournament where the same events would take place, Mr. Satan winning the Tenkaichi Budokai, and the standoff with Goku and Vegeta. Trunks would try and get through to his father, but all he does is bring back memories of 7 years ago when he last saw him, how Vegeta feels himself to be a disgrace. This enraged his inner evil and envy even more, and Vegeta would proceed to provoke Kakarot to fight. He would kill people at the stadium as well. Whilst they were at the tournament, Babidi required a henchman and would take a gamble on anyone he could get. He needed to ensure Buu could be revived, and Vegeta could gather enough energy. It's at this point Babidi remembers the one outside called Piccolo, who has been recently reverted back from stone. Using his magic post-haste, he tries his magic on Krillin and Piccolo, the nearest two fighters, to which both feel an unusual pain and manipulation. As expected, Krillin would resist this, but Piccolo would indeed suffer a lot longer than Krillin. Piccolo, whilst under the manipulation, tells Krillin to get out of there now, knowing full well Babidi's magic was becoming more and more overwhelming. Krillin leaves, and Piccolo tries to think of the good in his heart, thinking of Gohan, but the magic dips deep into Piccolo's heart. And even though Piccolo had completely overcome the darkness in his heart, Babidi sensed it was still there and just needed the right lift. Babidi promises Piccolo power, stronger than any Namekian warrior, revealing and feeding the true Piccolo of old, the repressed memories, and a lust for power that satisfied that darkness. Piccolo fell under the spell of Babidi, albeit was a very difficult task for Babidi to do because Piccolo had a lot of good in him too. This is why the wizard's magic was deadly. One small opening and Babidi could reveal it. Piccolo would enter the ship and stand next to Babidi for the time being, replacing Dabura. Piccolo felt a huge surge in power, as well as being promised even more power, Piccolo's sin, in exchange for helping Buu hatch. The corruption was real. Goku and the others would eventually get teleported to the wasteland in order for Vegeta to collect energy. At this point, Supreme Kai wants Trunks to help, knowing he shouldn't be getting involved in history yet again, but he finds him more reliable than Gohan at this stage, as Majin Buu's resurrection is lethal to the universe. Trunks and Gohan would team up. Goku would split the Senzu Bean and give it to Gohan and Trunks. However, this is where Dabura originally requested Babidi to open the door to stop the rupturing of Buu's shell. However, Piccolo requests the door to open so he can get his hands on Gohan, to punish him for neglecting his training, to show him he is weak. And Piccolo suggested it would gather more energy for Buu anyway. But Babidi was scared of this idea, realizing Trunks was there with Gohan too, and he feared Piccolo couldn't handle all three of them, despite the Majin boost lifting Piccolo's evil dormant power even higher than before. Babidi would keep the door shut, knowing this, forcing Trunks' hand and blowing up the entrance, to which he does, reasonably, and yet Buu's egg is still intact. Babidi quickly commands Vegeta to eliminate the Supreme Kai, but Vegeta gives his Saiyan Pride speech and resists. Goku and Vegeta watch on as their sons depart, with Trunks finally telling his father in person to make it through this because he means everything to him. And who he has become in these last 7 years makes Trunks feel proud to be Vegeta's son, knowing the real Vegeta is still inside. They then leave. Vegeta, feeling even more internal suffering than before because Trunks was there, would explode in a rage of anger to fight Kakarot. His Super Saiyan 2 power goes beyond its normal limits ever so slightly, to which gives Goku a great deal of concern, as normally they would have been on equal footing in the fight. Goku then powers up to Super Saiyan 2 as well, and realizes this is more of an uphill battle than a sparring match. Trunks, Gohan and the Supreme Kai move inside and confront Babidi and Piccolo. Gohan sees Piccolo under the spell, and gets emotional about it. He resembled the Piccolo of old, and radiates the aura that Dabura had. Whilst on the battlefield, Goku and Vegeta are at it with extreme intensity, delivering energy to Buu's egg. What will happen with this confrontation before Buu's hatching? Will Trunks make a difference to stop the hatching altogether? Don't you dare miss the next exciting part of this Dragon Ball What If. At this moment, Babidi is scared of the odds against him, that being Trunks, Gohan and the Supreme Kai. But Majin Piccolo steps forward. Gohan would refuse to fight Piccolo, and so would Trunks. They would try and talk Piccolo out of it, which immediately failed. Piccolo tells Babidi to take the fight outside so Buu could be revived without damaging the egg. Babidi teleports everyone to another wasteland and Piccolo summons up a great dark power. It's at this moment Goku and Vegeta pause fighting, feeling this power. Both are shocked that they feel Piccolo's dark energy that high, but in a different way. For some reason, Piccolo's Majin boost was more effective than Vegeta's, and the Evil King Piccolo's instinct worked perfectly with Babidi's magic. The Dark Namekian's power spiked as high as Gohan's in the Cell games. This concerned Goku, but Vegeta, still far superior as a Super Saiyan 2 due to his new surge in power, he continued his assault on Goku without any more care, focusing on his goal. Goku would begin to realize Vegeta's heightened emotions in this fight because of Trunks' words, and it made it far more difficult to hold off Vegeta, to which he debates revealing the secrets of his training in the other world, Super Saiyan 3. However, this was a serious risk at this point in the fight, as Goku was using a lot of his Super Saiyan 2 power to fight back. A jump to Super Saiyan 3 at this point, and the time it would take to transform, may not be beneficial in these circumstances of an aggressive Vegeta. But Goku would eventually decide not to do that, and he would dig deep to fight back like Goku does best. Because it's not only Vegeta who could raise his power even more. Goku would eventually raise his Super Saiyan 2 game by combining the risky Kaioken technique to it. This truly was a replica of the original battle on Earth all them years ago. He would never go beyond a double Kaioken due to the concern of the remaining stamina in Super Saiyan 2. But the ×2 used in short bursts would help overpower and damage Vegeta in desperate times at the cost of stamina. This truly was a battle taken either way, just like old times. Meanwhile, on the other battlefield, Piccolo strikes Gohan and Trunks. They still didn't want to fight back. It made it easy for the Dark Namekian to overpower them in the beginning. Gohan would try to talk to Piccolo, and Babidi would hold off the Supreme Kai with his crafty magic for a while. Buu's egg would eventually hatch a little bit sooner due to Piccolo gathering energy as well. However, Piccolo would stop fighting momentarily before that happened. For within his heart was not just the remains of the evil Piccolo being risen from extinction, but also that of Nail and Kami. Within Piccolo, a great eternal battle commenced, as Kami and Nail would overcome the evil King Piccolo, reminding the current Piccolo of who he really is now. Piccolo began to realize the darkness in his actions, combined with that of Gohan talking to him, made him regain full control. and Babidi didn't know about this. However, the smoke from the egg emerges, and the fighters realize the power forming. They immediately stand back, feeling depths of power that were horrifying. Piccolo flies over to Babidi and sees the wizard fully distracted and starting to fall in love with this powerful cloud of smoke forming. The Piccolo of good not only vanquished the evil inside, he consumed the boost the darkness gave him, the power it awakened. It became part of the good Piccolo. This was Piccolo's true power now, harnessed for good. And in that moment, he grabs the wizard Babidi by his arm and thanks him for opening the door to his true completed Namekian self. Mentioning King Piccolo's essence was the final piece of the puzzle to unlock the full power of the nameless Namekian. The wizard screams for help, but the nameless Namekian punches a hole through the wizard's body, launching him into the sky and mouth blasts him to nothing. Piccolo gained a mean streak to his personality, and the Majin logo disappeared. He smiles at Gohan, and both Saiyans are shocked at this power-up. But the brief moment of glory was over. What stood before the nameless Namekian, Saiyans and Kai was a Majin monster confused about this whole situation. Majin Buu had emerged. Was he good or was he bad? He hadn't attacked yet, but the four had been accustomed to the horror stories, as well as the evil they felt from within it. Buu approaches them all and wanted to play with them. They all jump backwards to defend themselves, and Buu immediately ignites a destructive explosion in the area, causing them all to fly up away. They were right. The monster was clearly set on causing chaos and murder. But Buu had vanished. Such incredible speed. Out of nowhere, Buu appears in mid-air near the Supreme Kai and clobbers him down to the dirt. Gohan and Trunks fire up to Super Saiyan and launch a double blast at Buu. Buu had vanished once again, but they knew he wasn't dead. He was just so fast. Out of nowhere, Buu emerges and delivers a beastly kick to Piccolo's head, knocking the Namekian down to the ground. Gohan fires another beam at Buu, which is deflected. Then Buu creates a giant energy ball projected at Gohan, launching him into the far wastelands just like in the original story. It was so fast and powerful that nobody could intercept it. The Supreme Kai barely notices it and manages to release Gohan from the oncoming explosion far away. However, Trunks looks on, angered by what he witnessed, feeling Gohan's energy drop to nothing, believing him to be dead. This was deja vu for Trunks. Remembering his fallen mentor in a pool of blood by the hands of the androids, Trunks enters into deep thought and screams, powering up even higher and finally tapping into the power of his Super Saiyan 2 due to the emotional trigger of the reminder of future Gohan dying and believing Gohan of now to be dead as well. Trunks wouldn't just become a Super Saiyan 2 around the levels of Vegeta and Goku. No, Trunks became the strongest Super Saiyan 2 fighter on Earth now, with a hybrid potential combined with a rage boost. The recent training with his father kept his body in shape to endure the power surging through his veins. Piccolo gets to his feet and notices how strong Trunks is. The Supreme Kai also gets up, where Piccolo tells the Supreme Kai to leave the area now, find Gohan's body, as he will stay and help Trunks now. He then told the Supreme Kai to seek out Dende's God Key and relocate to the lookout later on, if they make it out alive. Realizing this massive surge in power, Goku and Vegeta finally stop fighting, and as such, Vegeta would start to be concerned about this Majin Buu's power and also Trunks' power rising even higher. His pride towards Goku would still play into effect, tricking Goku and knocking him out cold and taking the Senzu Bean. Vegeta still had the same motives as in the original story, and his business with Kakarot remained the same. But he was even more determined now due to the involvement of his son and the danger that faces him. He flies over to Majin Buu. Meanwhile, Trunks would be remarkably strong and he would attack Majin Buu with everything he had. It would be a combination of punches and kicks similar to how Vegeta gave Buu in the original story, only much more angrier. However, this rage would blind Trunks into not considering Buu's true potential, for after the attack, followed by a finish buster, Buu would reform. Any other villain would have been mincemeat, but the rage in Trunks began to wear thin, seeing the brute stand again and begin to raise his monstrous power. Trunks and Piccolo stand in shock. Buu launches a huge energy blast at him. However, Piccolo would save Trunks by using a concentrated light grenade and intercepting the blast. Trunks and Piccolo try to attack Buu together and succeed with a few hits, but the beast just kept regenerating as the others weakened slowly. The blob reveals his magic-based powers to overpower Trunks and Piccolo, smashing them into the dirt and wrapping them in bubblegum. As they are trapped, Buu, with his creepy humming, walks over to them and kicks both of them apart. First he mounts Trunks, punch after punch until he falls out of Super Saiyan. he would continue to punch his face in and fully intended to punch him to death. That was until Piccolo used a powered up mouth blast to launch at Buu while still being wrapped in gum. It smashes Buu off Trunks' body, but then Buu stands up extremely angry. Piccolo just saved Trunks' life. However, before Buu could make his move on Piccolo, a huge explosion occurs nearby. It was the sudden emergence of Vegeta who arrived on the scene, where he destroyed the remains of Babidi's ship in anger and confronts Majin Buu. Just what moments in history will be altered now on the battlefield? Don't you dare miss the next part of our Dragon Ball Z What If. The fresh Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta goes all out on Buu, but again, Majin Buu's terror just creates even more hell for him, and overpowers him eventually like it did in the original story. Kid Trunks and Goten would eventually arrive on the scene, cheap shot in Buu before he hurts Vegeta anymore. All fighters get to their feet, but are severely worn out. They all realize there is no hope. This is where Vegeta begins his sacrifice, hugging Kid Trunks and letting him know how much he cared for him. He would knock out Kid Trunks and Goten, who would not understand the situation fully, but Piccolo and Future Trunks understood. A tear would fall from Future Trunks, knowing his father stood up for him all those years ago against Cell, and now he's doing it again, but this time it was more sincere and not out of anger. Vegeta tells Trunks that he is proud of him, having saved his future and grown stronger than himself, but tells him that he must live and go on, go back and look after his mother, because family means everything. Trunks didn't want to leave, but he knew he had to. This is what Vegeta needed. They all depart, and Trunks cries, knowing his father is about to die, but he finally atones for his mistakes, the people he's killed. Vegeta sacrifices himself in a grand explosion, hoping that this will be the end for Majin Buu, but unfortunately, still unable to kill the monster. Piccolo would return to find out Buu is regenerating, but this time, there would be no Babidi to be healed upon Buu's revival. Babidi was completely vaporized, meaning Majin Buu would be reckless without any master, just as dangerous. Bulma and the others would continue the search for the Dragon Balls, wishing back everyone who died since the morning of the World's Martial Arts Tournament, except the evil ones. This bringing back Kibito. Kibito would eventually find Supreme Kai and Gohan, but this time they wouldn't transport to the Kaioshin realm. Supreme Kai would still be alert and tell Kibito that they should actually go and seek out Dende here on Earth and meet up with everybody, as requested to by Piccolo previously. At this time, the Supreme Kai was also more convinced Trunks would be a better option for the Z-Sword training than Gohan, to which not made him feel like Gohan was the last hope, so they could take a pit stop at the lookout in hoping to meet Trunks again. Goku would wake up from being knocked out and senses the energy of the others at the lookout. He teleports there. Everyone is at the lookout and they all update each other of the situation and how Buu is rampaging alone without a master. But as Shenron was still summoned, Goku intervened and stopped the last wish, for Shenron to go away for 4 months instead of a year. Everyone had teleported to the lookout for safety. Bulma and both Trunks would be the most distraught here, as Vegeta is the only one not there. Supreme Kai reveals his plan to potentially defeat Majin Buu, offering to take someone to train in the Kaioshin realm, pulling out the Z-Sword. Already being more lenient towards Trunks and seeing him wield a sword of his own, Supreme Kai offers to take Trunks for this special training. It is at this moment, Trunks declines because he feels that training would be wasted on him as he doesn't live in this timeline. He suggested maybe someone like Gohan should take that opportunity and help defend his own timeline now and in the future. Goku was not an option because that too would be a waste and he shouldn't even be there anyway. Piccolo was definitely not interested in wielding a sword, so that option was out. Gohan was the most suitable choice for this timeline. And although the Supreme Kai was initially disappointed it wouldn't be Trunks, he was still happy that it would be Gohan, knowing the young Saiyan still had a lot of power to unlock. Goku shares another way to defeat Majin Buu in case that training may not be enough, and that was fusion. Goku suggested that Gohan and Trunks should be fusion parts, but the Supreme Kai said there wouldn't be enough time to practice that dance and train in the Kaioshin realm. Gohan had to choose one, but Trunks intervened and said he would learn the dance and also teach it to his younger self and Goten, as they were similar stature and would benefit from the strength boost. Plus in the future timeline, Trunks would know a pretty important technique if he needed to fuse with someone to deal with any future threats. They also agreed it would be good for Goten and Trunks to get some experience in saving the world, similar to the original story. Plus, Goku believed the fusion would give even Goten and Trunks more than enough power to beat Majin Buu, and so that was the plan. Gohan, Supreme Kai and Kibito leave, whilst Goten and Trunks wake up. Goku demonstrates the fusion dance, and Piccolo is also taught the dance so he can teach the boys when Goku's time runs out on Earth. Some time passed, and back on Earth, Majin Buu is destroying city after city and eventually gets closer to West City. He is on a rampage as expected. Bulma mentions the Dragon Radar is at Capsule Corporation and her parents are still there. Instead of Kid Trunks risking himself, future Trunks steps in and aims to go to Capsule Corp, whilst Goku heads down to confront Majin Buu to buy some time. It's at this moment Goku performs Super Saiyan 3 in an attempt to hold off Majin Buu, showing off the deadly power of the Otherworld training. Future Trunks and everyone else cannot believe the power they feel. Goku holds off Buu for a while, and Majin Buu loves this thrill of a powerful battle. But Majin Buu, even without Babidi there, is obsessed with the ones who attacked him on his awakening. That being Trunks, Piccolo, Goten Trunks and Gohan. He wanted to make them go bye-bye. But Goku promised Buu that if he waits, not destroying any more cities or anyone on Earth, the fighters will show themselves and give him the battle he has been waiting for. This excites Majin Buu, and he agrees for the most part not to go on a crazy rampage. Goku's plan was to have Goten and Trunks fuse. Goku meets everyone at the lookout, and is suffering from the life force drain of going Super Saiyan 3. Future Trunks also returns. Upon the boys' request to see Goku turn Super Saiyan 3 once again, he would demonstrate it one time only, for that was all he could manage. It's at this point, the Super Saiyan 3 demonstration was not only witnessed by Goten and Trunks, but Future Trunks also. And with his power being one of the strongest on Earth as it is, a technique like Super Saiyan 3 may turn out to be a very critical weapon in the arsenal of Future Trunks. Goku powers down, and eventually leaves the living world, but would soon meet up with Gohan in the Kaioshin realm, who had already pulled the Z-Sword out and had been training intensely. Goten and Trunks would soon master the fusion dance thanks to Piccolo's guidance, fusing into Gotenks for the first time. But it's at this exact point Future Trunks is practicing some otherworldly technique on the other side of the lookout. Gotenks flies off and gets absolutely pulverized by Majin Buu. No contest. He deserved that for his arrogance. Oddly, Majin Buu was still destroying parts of the planet, but had started to slow down and build a house to wait out the days. Hercule befriends Buu and convinces him to give up killing, to which they adopt a puppy called Bee, and for the most part, there seems to be peace on Earth somewhat. Goten and Trunks would remain with Piccolo and the others on the lookout, but it was at this moment Future Trunks had a different motive. The battle-scarred Super Saiyan felt it deep in his Saiyan blood that this was it. This was it. The Super Saiyan 3 that Goku showcased earlier, the words of Goku stuck in Trunks' head on how to transform, and it seemed to be quite valuable in facing Majin Buu. He was able to unleash his dormant power he never thought he had, combined with the emotion of seeing his father die. The least he could do was continue making his father proud, and he would. Trunks would look to restore peace in this timeline for certain, and never give up his training again, even in times of peace. He was in severe pain watching the Earth get terminated once again, like in his timeline against the androids. It brought about some serious PTSD, tapping on Trunks' potential to survive and win. The guilt and suffering grew strong within him, and finally, Trunks shakes the planet and erupts into a Super Saiyan 3, digging deeper than ever before. There was no reason why he couldn't do it. His hybrid Super Saiyan 2 power put him above Super Saiyan 2 Goku somewhat anyway. Trunks just needed those extra tools and guidance to utilize his full power. Piccolo looks in shock, feeling the same level of unworldly energy that Goku previously displayed. Even in the land of the Kais where Goku and Gohan were, they too could feel this power. And Goku smiles and tells Gohan the Earth may not even need his help after all, feeling that Trunks had what it took. But Goku then starts to look slightly worried, concerned that it's Trunks' first time transforming into the Super Saiyan 3. There were negative factors about the form that Trunks probably wasn't considering, a mistake like last time against Cell. Trunks dashes across the planet as a Super Saiyan 3, straight to where Majin Buu is chilling with Hercule. Majin Buu was in the middle of whipping up some spaghetti, and with one thunderous kick, Super Saiyan 3 Trunks smashes through the kitchen wall, kicking Buu right in the face and through the house. His knees are weak, arms are heavy. The vomit is on his sweater already, and Mom's spaghetti is gone. The building crumbles, and all that's left is Hercule in the bath. Buu gets smashed into the nearby mountains, not even able to detect the power approaching, and completely off guard, but he quickly enters his battle mode and fights back, to which Trunks' power was completely overwhelming for the time being, blocking and pounding Buu into the dirt. Buu was being accustomed to some peaceful life and wasn't ready for this wake-up call by Trunks, but he raises his power as much as he can during the onslaught. Trunks takes full advantage of the surprise attack and draws his sword, dashing towards Majin Buu again with full intention to kill and save the world. This unexpected turn of events is putting even myself on the edge of my seat. Don't you dare miss the next exciting part of this Dragon Ball Z What If. Trunks continues the onslaught against Majin Buu, and he's going for the kill. Slicing and dicing, followed by a palm exploding wave, similar to what he did to Frieza. However, he would have to increase his power more than he thought, for Majin Buu's regeneration was nothing to laugh about. The smallest piece of Buu could eventually reform to complete Buu, and it would. But Trunks would not give up so easily. He decided to put all of his power into his attacks this time. But it would be at this time Hercule and B would have been shot by Van Zandt and Smitty, and to this, Majin Buu would hear the devastating shot from a mile away, and would recognize danger back at the house, to which he actually runs away from future Trunks back to the house in desperation. Trunks would be extremely confused, as he was in the heat of the moment, but would follow to see what was going on. Buu would land and see the horror of Hercule and B being shot, but in his struggle would heal them both before Buu would expel all of the evil inside him after raging. This spawned the evil grey version of Buu. Trunks would notice that Buu was undergoing some sort of fission, and was in complete shock when two Buus were on the battlefield. It was at this moment Trunks starts to realize the truth, that Buu had adopted a kindness towards Hercule and B, and that there was a good and evil Buu. However, he would not attack the two, as he wasn't sure if he could take both of them on if they both attacked him, and was more concerned about what they were going to do to each other. And as fate would have it, the evil Buu would consume Fat Buu, finally turning into Super Buu. It's at this moment the battlefield became 1 versus 1 again, but instead of Super Buu dashing to the lookout first, he would be more interested in fighting Trunks. Super Buu replicated Trunks with his no-nonsense attitude, and he struck first on Trunks, knocking the wind out of the Super Saiyan 3. Trunks was not expecting a power-up of this magnitude, but he fought on, slowly realizing he's got zero chance. Super Buu would smash Trunks into the ground, where the Saiyan could no longer maintain the Super Saiyan 3 transformation due to stamina issues. A flaw in the form that Trunks didn't consider in his anger and determination to protect the planet, similar to when he fought Cell. The massive size of Super Buu would tower over Trunks' fallen body, smiling like the murderer he is, but Trunks had something left in the tank. He would rise up and go Super Saiyan 3 one more time in an explosive movement, trying to surprise Buu, going in for an unexpected punch to the face, but unfortunately for Trunks, Super Buu did expect it. He was gigantic, stronger, faster than ever, and in one smooth motion, he would throw Trunks back into the ground and stomp on his chest. Just as Buu was about to kill off Trunks, he could see Hercule and B nearby, and realized that there is feelings for them deep within. And this ultimately stopped Buu continuing his onslaught against Trunks. Instead, he just left the area after being taken out of his murderous way for that split second, and Hercule's presence was just enough to save Trunks' life. Hercule would run over to Trunks' body, recognizing him from 7 years ago, the man in the Cell games. He realized he owes him and the others his life for actually saving the day back then. So Hercule would do the right thing and carry Trunks across the wasteland to try and save his life. There was nothing left of Buu's house, it was completely destroyed. And don't worry about Hercule carrying Trunks, guys. This guy's got the biggest, hairiest chest in West City. Meanwhile, Super Buu attends the lookout, and similar events would carry out. The battle with Gohanks, the murder of everyone on the lookout after escaping the room of spirit and time. Super Saiyan 3 Gohanks would rise up and fight Buu's monstrous power back on the Earth's ground. But before long, Gohan would arrive. I'm sorry, Ultimate Gohan, stronger than ever before, the strongest on Earth, but we know those details, so let's continue. He would step in where Gohanks failed, and Buu would explode into a runner. This would lead to Gohan, Piccolo and the boys looking for Dende, to which they actually find Hercule carrying Trunks. Exhausted, thirsty and nearly dead, the group land and help carry the two, but soon link up with Dende. Dende heals Trunks and Mr. Satan, and everyone update each other of the situation. Buu would eventually resurface and face off against the group, demanding a rematch with Gohanks and lure him to fuse. His aim was to absorb Gohanks' power and the wisdom of Piccolo. Buu had little concern for future Trunks, as he completely stomped his full power earlier with no effort, and thought that Trunks' current base power might be a hindrance to his evolution if he absorbs someone who isn't needed. Trunks wouldn't be as reckless this time to fire up the Super Saiyan 3 either, when he knew full well Gohan had what it took to lead the charge all by himself. It reminded him of all those years ago when Gohan stood up to Cell. Trunks believed in Gohan, and would not get suckered in like the brats did due to their lack of discipline. And at this moment, Buu goes for the absorption on Gohanks and Piccolo, and it's now Gohan and Trunks left alone to fight the monster. The powered up tag team we had been looking forward to, but will it be enough? Last time they fought Buu as Super Saiyan 2s, now they have ascended even further beyond. Trunks would fire up the Super Saiyan 3 and support Gohan, who would strike first. Although Buu tanks would be superior to both, the support of Super Saiyan 3 Trunks would help close the gap somewhat. The son of Goku and the son of Vegeta would fight Buu with all of their power, all of their hearts, all of their love, but would eventually meet a similar end with a new souped up Buu hunting down both of them. For Trunks, it would bring back the horrid memories of the androids hunting him and Gohan. Losing his master, he was hiding behind the rock, scared, shaken. The memories would cripple any man. It's not something you just wake up and forget. Trunks did not want to lose Gohan again. This would trigger a further emotional rage in Trunks, as his only countermeasure for feeling this way and overcoming the fear was to fight. Trunks would transform, but this time, he would not become Super Saiyan 3. He would become a Super Saiyan 2, but somehow, this inner rage, this focused aggression started to heighten his raw Super Saiyan 2 power, making it go just as high as his Super Saiyan 3 self, if not further, without actually becoming Super Saiyan 3. Trunks had managed to harness the pain deep within, the power he felt as Super Saiyan 3, it was all consumed, without putting a strain on his body anymore. Trunks had ascended again, almost putting his dormant Super Saiyan 2 power next to Ultimate Gohan. Yes, he was that strong, and why not? He and Gohan were both hybrids, and Gohan had his potential unlocked by magical means. Trunks did it through his nightmares. He fights Buu as hard as he can, with more heart and determination than ever before. And after a warrior's effort that would make his father proud further, the fire burns out. And it's at this time, Dende heals Gohan when Buu wasn't looking. And whilst Gohan engaged, Dende would then heal Trunks, a true replica of Planet Namek. But Buu was still too strong for both of them, even if they worked together. And they did try, but it ended up being futile. Buu trickery with Gotenks and Piccolo's arsenal was devastating. The events would unfold with the role model Tien intervening to help. Goku would realize the danger and still go to Earth, but it's at this moment, when Goku traveled to Earth to assist and bring the Potara, Goku's idea of fusion completely altered. In the original story, Gohan was the only one to fuse with Goku, but if there was a chance he didn't have to fuse with his own flesh and blood, that would be a bonus, and an option Goku would take, which he does in this story. He throws one Potara down to Gohan, who misses the catch naturally, but suddenly, Goku then throws the second Potara down to Trunks, who catches it and puts it on his ear. Buu is angered, not taking the chance for these hybrids to fuse, and blasts the ground beneath Gohan, making it harder to find the earring. Trunks is ready for the fusion, whilst Goku fires up to Super Saiyan 3, to help buy some time for the two to fuse into one almighty warrior. Goku fights Buu and the battle showcases that even this legendary Goku cannot stand up to this creature alone either. It was a one-sided battle with Goku always on the back foot. Suddenly, during the rampage, the fusion of Gotenks wears off inside Majin Buu, causing him to revert back to Piccolo. Gohan finds the earring and is ready to fuse. Trunks is ready, but Goku is there realizing there may not be any more need to fuse anymore due to Buu's weakened power, and tells Gohan to wait, one of Goku's most arrogant moments. Not so fast, Goku. There is one Saiyan on this battlefield who doesn't take any chances. Trunks looks over to Gohan and says, "Do it." The story of Dragon Ball Z is about to take its biggest shift. Don't you dare miss this next exciting part of this Dragon Ball Z What If. Gohan looks at Trunks and then back to his father, not sure about which decision to make. Goku is also shocked by Trunks' assertive demand, but Trunks' voice overpowers Goku's. He tells Gohan to do it now, and as it may be, Buu was going for the absorption on Gohan to level the playing field, and just as the pink blob surrounding Gohan's body, he had already listened to Trunks and put the earring on, dragging Gohan's body away from the pink goo's grasp and propelled it towards Trunks' location. Trunks' demand of fusion and Gohan listening just stopped Buu's absorption plan. Goku then realizes that Trunks was indeed right and he praises the move, still couldn't believe that Buu was so sneaky. Goku remains in Super Saiyan 3 and checks the area to make sure he is not being targeted by Buu as well. At this point, Piccolo is actually weaker than Super Buu, because Buu had absorbed the power of a weaker fighter, devaluing his pure potential. The only reason he was as strong as he was due to Gotenks' Super Saiyan 3 power ramping up his own. So now, despite being weaker than Super Buu, he would still pose a great threat to Super Saiyan 3 Goku one-on-one, but would not pose any threat whatsoever to the new fighter standing over in the rocky area. Behold, Go Trunks, or Gohanks. They debate what to call themselves, but says it's not important. The unlocked hybrid power fused into one just made Gohanks stronger than Vegeta in the original story. Gohanks would remain in his base form, or maybe this was his full potential, fully unlocked, making transformations now irrelevant. Considering it was the power of Ultimate Gohan, it would make sense that the dormant power within was fully unlocked. It was at this point Vegeta had arrived with Baba as requested by King Yama. He was still sent there just to make sure Buu was destroyed despite the fighters now having an upper hand. Goku feels Vegeta's power and teleports to his location, and says good luck to the new fusion fighter, having full confidence in him. Gohanks appreciates it, but wasn't here to play games. He knew he could destroy Buu, and was fully aware of the sneaky absorption moves. He tells Tien to take Dende and Hercule to safety, which the role model does, and Gohanks picks up the sword from the floor and points it at Majin Buu. He tells him the future is about to change. Then, now, and forever. Buu tells him to stop, and wants to talk about this first, but Gohanks smiles and instantly appears behind Piccolo. He slices and dices and just leaves the pieces afloat, causing Buu to reform in anger. Gohanks slices and dices one more time, and Buu reforms again, very pissed off. Gohanks says he should start his own cooking program with all the chopping, and then proceeds to chop up Buu again, forcing him to regenerate one more time. Gohanks' attitude was off the chart badass, asking Buu if he accidentally cut up some onions while chopping him up back there because Buu looks very upset. Just as Buu is about to yell back in anger, Gohanks just palm blasts Buu to nearly nothing, and the Majin regenerates once again, only this time looking like the healing was taking its toll. But Gohanks knew the others were inside and had the same plan to rescue them as Vegeta originally would. Meanwhile, Goku informs Vegeta that their sons are fighting this monster and going to save everyone, to which Vegeta still has some PTSD of his failure sacrifice and rushes to Buu to regain his lost pride. Goku tries to stop him, but as they arrive at the battlefield, they can see Gohanks whipping candy ass, but wondered why Buu was still alive, to which Goku remembers Goten, Trunks and Piccolo are inside Buu and need rescuing. Vegeta gets angered at the whole situation of his son being absorbed, and himself having no power to stop Buu. He charges at Buu with a thunderous blast, to which really doesn't affect Buu. Buu smashes Vegeta down. Then Gohanks rushes Buu, kicking him away from Vegeta. He then goes and lands next to Vegeta. He asks his father if he's okay, but tells him this is their fight now. In order to save Trunks, who is inside Buu, he must get absorbed, which means Vegeta and Goku will need to hold off Buu whilst they are inside. Vegeta struggles with this decision, his pride getting in the way again, but then Gohanks shouts at Vegeta, telling him to listen. It's not all about him. Think about Mum and how she was killed by this monster. What would she want? He told him she loved him with all of her heart, and she needs Vegeta right now, and so does his son, both of his sons. Vegeta realizes his ways and finally comes back to his senses, erasing all of the past hurt and insecurities. He stands up and puts his hand on Gohanks' shoulder. He tells him this is why he's proud of Trunks, and Kakarot feels the same way about Gohan. Vegeta tells Gohanks to go and save the others before they kill that bastard once and for all. He says he and Kakarot will hold off Buu in the meantime. And so Gohanks remembers the piece of Buu he chopped off which wasn't reattached. He knew the tricks. He felt it getting closer, and tells Goku and Vegeta he won't be long. Buu absorbs Gohanks, but the fusion hybrid sets up his barrier, only to then separate once inside Buu. Goku powers up to full Super Saiyan 3, knowing this is going to be hell. Vegeta charges up his full Super Saiyan 2 power, and the two actually work together, not for themselves, but because their sons are leading the charge, and they don't want to let them down. Their job is to literally survive Buu at this point. Gohan and Trunks free the boys from inside. Buu is not able to appear inside due to Vegeta and Goku keeping him busy outside. He can't concentrate. But they can't hold on for long because now Piccolo is disconnected. Buu reverts back to Super Buu with more strength and starts giving Goku and Vegeta hell. It's during this fight that Goku fights off Buu to protect Vegeta from being erased, as if he dies while dead he's gone forever. Vegeta finally feels unthreatened by Goku's ability to surpass him, and he also accepts his role as a Z fighter, respecting Goku's power. But before Gohan and Trunks leave to help their dads, they both notice Fat Buu attached inside. What would someone think seeing this? A source of Buu's real power? Why would anyone think it would be a mistake to disconnect it? They didn't know, plus future Trunks saw the truth behind Fat Buu earlier and how he was the good part, befriending Hercule and B. Gohan and Trunks mutually make the decision to disconnect that Buu. They had no reason to believe it would cause Buu to become the most dangerous version. And with no warning from Super Buu either, it seemed like a must do at the time. Take away Fat Buu and he goes back to the Grey Buu, right? Well, no. And so they carried out the Fat Blob as well and escaped. But Buu on the outside stops fighting. Vegeta is angry seeing the Fat Buu pop out, and he can't believe there are two of them. But Trunks tells Vegeta not to harm him. There is good about this one and informs him the one in the sky is the evil piece. However, Super Buu starts roaring. becoming his original pure form, otherwise known as Kid Buu. It's at this time Tien links up with Chaozu, then they, Dende and Hercule regroup with the others to keep their strength in numbers, as basically they were the only ones left on Earth. Hercule would see Fat Buu on the floor and thank the fighters for rescuing his friend, which disgusted Vegeta naturally. Dende would start healing Piccolo, Kid Trunks and Goten to get them on their feet, but he would not heal Fat Buu as demanded not to by Vegeta. This was due to them not being able to trust him yet, as there was still a Majin Buu threat at hand. They could deal with Fat Buu later. The evil Buu would eventually reveal himself and shows no care for the Earth, blasting at it, but Vegeta blasts it away, saving the Earth. Goku steps forward and says it's time to finish this fight, telling the others to stand back. He's going to take him down right now, feeling like he has the juice to take on this Buu. The Super Saiyan 3 powers up to maximum strength, which starts to grab Kid Buu's attention. The Maniac dashes at Goku and the two start a monstrous battle, where it was apparent the Earth wouldn't be able to endure a battle of this magnitude if it keeps going. Despite Goku feeling like he could take on the raw power of Kid Buu, this doesn't mean he wasn't facing the most deadliest version of Buu right now, as pure Buu had very little care for fighting. He just wanted to destroy, and it was during this battle that everyone could see Goku was just as strong, but the pure Buu just looked like he had unlimited stamina and was blasting at the Earth whenever he had a chance to, because he was just in this for the lulz. Goku found it very difficult to fight an enemy who was more focused on destruction rather than fight in the way he's used to. Goku lands back down and tells the others a battle isn't going to work against this guy. They could see this Buu was insane. Buu would then start laughing and charging another energy ball and prepare to launch it at the Earth. This truly explained why this was the most dangerous version of Majin Buu. He was ready to obliterate everything. However, it's at this time the biggest change in Dragon Ball history would take place, and Buu's time had come. Future Trunks steps forward and tells everyone this is their time to fight back with everything they've got. No more running away, no more being on the defensive. Gohan steps forward too and agrees, feeling Buu's power bubbling to destroy everything, and it made the son of Goku even more determined to end it all right now, just like he did when he saved the world against Cell. Vegeta then steps forward, smiling at the boys for being badass Saiyans. Goku also smiles and joins the line too, to see they're just as much human as they are Saiyans. Goten and Trunks also stand next to their dads. The fearsome role model Tien and then Piccolo also step in and says they may not be able to do much in terms of power here, but their abilities will make sure Buu never comes back. Chaozu also steps up because even Chaozu needs loving now and again, guys. The protectors of Earth stand together. In the original story, there was only Goku and Vegeta here, but now a fully charged Z-Fighter team stands before this monster of terror, not afraid, and together, they were not afraid of Buu's futile attempts to try and destroy this planet. The energy ball became huge in the sky, and Buu kept charging it, getting ready to destroy the Earth, consumed by his madness and not really seeing the courage and strength standing in front of him. Goku, Gohan, and Goten begin charging a Kamehameha. Vegeta begins forming his final flash, and with both Trunks next to him, utilizing their heat dome attack, charging that up to the brink. Tien would focus his hands and project almost all of his life energy into the next Spirit Tri-Beam. Piccolo would charge up and unleash his Hell Zone grenade, preparing to scatter ki blasts everywhere, and Chaozu would just start lifting rocks and shit. Majin Buu rages and throws the giant energy ball from above, intending to kill all of the fighters, the planet, and the solar system. But the fool didn't anticipate the united attack that was on its way. Piccolo steps in and utilizes his Hell Zone grenade, scattering tons of ki blasts around Majin Buu from behind, making sure Buu is completely locked down. The Kamehameha beams are launched and combined with the final flash, and the heat dome attack hits from behind, giving it even more force. The Tri-Beam is fired next, containing all of the energy waves, creating a huge net of ki, so no pieces of Majin Buu could escape the oncoming wave of light. This team attack required the most precise timing, but the Z-Fighters, after working for so many years together, knew what the hell they were doing. And by Kami, the concentrated fused blast from all fighters eats through Majin Buu's vanishing ball, and the newly formed pure Buu, for the first time in his life, starts to express fear. This was it. He knew it. The Z-Fighter Unification Blast hits him. It was at this moment, just before Buu's particles started vaporizing, could not escape. Goku hopes that one day he will come back as a good person, so they can have a proper one-on-one match. King Yama hears Goku and decides to grant his request, and in that moment, Buu was destroyed. The world was saved, an overkill combined effort from the warriors of Dragon Ball, but a moment which will never be forgotten. The original happy ending after the fight would still happen, where events remain mostly the same, and when Fat Buu later woke up, he continued to be a friend of Hercule and live a life of peace. Rather than wait 4 months for the Earth's Dragon Balls to return, planet Namek was visited, and they helped support the Earth for defeating the tyrant that could have destroyed the universe. The wishes were made to bring back all the good people who died since the day of the martial arts tournament. This included Vegeta. The second wish was made to restore the damage done to Earth, and the third wish was to erase everyone's memories of Majin Buu. So overall, what differences did future Trunks make by arriving in the Buu Saga? The major differences in the final battle were that there was no urgency to escape planet Earth when Trunks made everyone realize they had sufficient power to attack back at Majin Buu and protect the Earth from there, without retreating, showing full courage and determination. He led the charge and brought everyone together in the final move, making the likes of Goku and Vegeta forget about their warrior's pride that had caused so many problems in the past, to which they focused on the more important matter at hand, and that was saving the universe. Future Trunks' arrival in the Buu Saga made for a more serious and assertive approach to getting the job done. This is who Future Trunks is. His appearance and interaction with his father made Vegeta into a better and stronger man than before. There was no complete destruction of Earth, there was no death of certain Z fighters like Gohan and Piccolo, and there was no need to damage the land of the Kais. There was no Spirit Bomb finale, but instead a Z unification blast. But apart from that, the arrival of Future Trunks in the Buu Saga was not a big difference maker at the beginning, but as time went on through the saga, there were a lot more positive changes to bring about the main familiar timeline ending. And this is where the story of Future Trunks returning in the Buu Saga comes to an end. What would happen in the rest of Trunks' own timeline? Will there be peace or will new problems arise? Can his new power stand against the darkness? This may be the end of this what if story, but I promise you scholars, I will be making another brand new what if story involving Future Trunks' timeline in Dragon Ball Super. But until that day, I hope you've enjoyed this amazing story as much as I've enjoyed telling it. Be sure to subscribe for many more what ifs and tons of other high quality, passionate Dragon Ball content. And I'll see you in the next dimension.